Hello, I'm Ed Rabyd, otherwise known as the Rabyd Atheist, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike this video as you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you would like. The purpose of this channel is educational in regards to atheist and deconversion issues and politics, Bible, theology, philosophy, and whatever else comes along in relationship to those issues. There's two events on today's agenda. This is a deconversion video, and I won't talk about that in a little bit, but I wanted to celebrate a little moment. This is also the video in which I have passed the 100 subscriber mark, and I want to thank you all for subscribing. Came to me. I've been talking about how we're getting very close to this, and we just wanted to thank you all for subscribing and taking a risk and putting me into your feed so that you can see me. I know that that's not always easy. I have a ton of things that I subscribe to, mostly because I just want to support them with a subscription. But it's kind of a humbling moment. When I started this channel over a year ago, I waited almost, I think, a month before I got my first subscriber. And when that happened, that was great. And now I'm up to 100. And it's just proved that the concept of this channel and what I'm talking about is actually resonating with some people. Maybe not everybody, but it's definitely resonating with some. So thank you very much for all the subscriptions. Next goal is about 250. And so we'll see how long it takes us to get to that. But as promised, I'm also going to start looking into other possible monetization away from YouTube. So maybe a Patreon account and a PayPal account. We'll see what happens there. But I've proven the concept of this channel. So now I've just got to improve it and continue to sell it and continue to make it work for what it works. Today is a deconversion video, though, and I want to get to that topic straight away. Today, I want to talk about missing Easter. As a former Christian, as a pastor, Easter, of course, for Christians is the holiday of holidays. It is the story of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It is the story of the cross. I mean, when you go from Palm Sunday to Easter, there's like a whole week of events if you're in a more traditional church setting. My last church was kind of a mix of, traditional church plus non-traditional church. And one of the things I noticed this year, in the past year since not being a pastor anymore, I haven't really missed most of the church services or anything like that. I've made the remark that I just don't miss all the gobbledygook and all the stuff that goes with it. But this year, I don't know if it's so much that I miss Easter, but that it's popping up so much on my Facebook feed that I'm getting annoyed with Easter. But at the same time, I do miss the camaraderie. I do miss some of the stuff about Easter. For most of the year, nobody pays the pastor much attention. But when you're the pastor at Easter time, everybody pays you attention. You get guests in church, people that only come out 2 times a year, suddenly show up at your door. And you get a chance to preach to them. And the funny thing is, I remember very succinctly the last 3 years of ministry that I didn't believe that Jesus was even, the Messiah anymore. My beliefs about Jesus was at that point is probably maybe a real figure, has a probability there, could be completely mythological, but could also be a real person that, Jesus' disciples and later followers just kind of blew up beyond all reasonable proportions. Quite possible. But I would very much preach at that time the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but I would try to put a very humanistic moral into it at the end. I don't know if anybody noticed, but the idea was to give people some actual practical advice on how to live their life, in preparation of the resurrection of their bodies, and the whole bit. So it became more of a sounding board, a way of getting a message across that didn't have anything to do with Easter. But now that I'm out, what is it that I miss? I used to do a lot of things. Palm Sunday was often interesting. I preach. It was often sometimes the first Sunday of the month. It's not this year, but and then we'd have some sort of potluck or whatever. And we always had that on Easter too. Good Friday was always interesting because in my community we had a thing called the Friday Crosswalk, where we created stations of the cross, quote unquote, the seven, and we would march. We would walk from one place to another carrying this cross, and then at different stations we'd have different people read different readings and do different things. And it was an interesting event to get around into our town and walk around and everything else. One year for Easter, I played several characters as a way to illustrate that story. And it was through that my joy of drama a little bit kind of developed. And now I don't really have an outlet for that. I think this is kind of what I miss about the whole Easter thing. Like it or not, the Christians have a common element with this resurrection story that allows them to bind together as a community of faith. Don't worry, I still think faith is a dishonest position, and I still think a lot of things about the Christmas story are complete bunk. In fact, most of it, the Easter story. But the Easter story really gets fascinating, I suppose, when you're an atheist, because I don't look at it from that standpoint. I just look at the things that are common to being human that I miss. I miss singing in the choir. I miss talking to people on a level that says, hey, you can do your life better because of this, and so on and so forth. I miss the drama that I used to do. I miss a lot of things about it. The problem is now I look back at it, and sometimes, and this year it's been worse than most, I just want to go back and get that time back. I want to go back and get the money back. I want to go back and get my wasted years of doing stuff for Easter, for a guy on a cross that may or may not have existed, for an empty tomb that certainly didn't exist. And I know, Christians get mad when I say that, but I hate to break the news to you. There's like 25 empty tombs of Christ in the Holy Land, and there's probably a pretty good bet that what really happened to Jesus of Nazareth, if he existed at all, he was taken off of that cross and thrown into a pit with a bunch of other people that had died from crucifixion and buried over. That was the common fate for crucifixion victims. And that's why there's no body. How would you identify a body mingled with all the rest of those corpses? You wouldn't be able to do it. So that's kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about missing Easter. It's not so much that I miss the bullshit or miss the mythology of it or miss Christ or miss any of that. I just miss some of the stuff that made it interesting. Easter was always better, or Christmas was always better with our candlelight service, but Easter had its own moments and stuff that we did, and everybody appreciated that. So that's kind of, where I'm at today from a deconversion standpoint. And I guess I would be really interested to hear what kind of things that, since you've left the church at the different holidays, particularly Easter holiday, that you miss. What is it that you really would like to see back in your life again? But you also realize that, hey, this is a bunch of bunk, and so it doesn't really do the real for you. So that's kind of where I'm headed with this. Now, some other interesting facts about Easter that are interesting is how much the holiday is celebrated universally in all religions, but it's not always called the same thing. The idea of Easter comes from a Norse goddess of healing, light, and renewal. So that's where some of it comes up. Some of the pagan origins of this holiday are amazing. So, but at the same time, there's this, I don't go to church anymore, and I don't go to church for good reasons. But at the same time, there's certain things that I maybe not necessarily miss, but were nice. And a lot of it, of course, I wish I had back. But, maybe that's just the rest of us. Comment from this last couple of days. Freebird of Reason and I was talking about my support of Telltale a couple of days ago. Freebird of Reason said this. He said, "I've been following this on Telltale. I was so shocked to see what happened to him. I felt horrified, in fact. I hope justice prevails. The bullying is wrong and the using of religion in the class was wrong. It is so easy on social media platforms to say hurtful things, like road rage, easy from behind a glass sitting in the driver's seat. I believe people drove past his house using fear tactics. The law has been truly broken. Hope he gets the proper police protection from this. The religion doesn't do itself. This religion doesn't do itself any favors." Yeah, I mean, when you read the whole story and you listen to the whole story and what's going on there, it sure seems that these Christians have, forgotten, the whole line, love your neighbor as yourself and so on and so forth. And they're really quick to kind of shut, poor Telltale down. I really also hope that he will be okay. I'm going to keep an eye on his channel to make sure that he is doing well. And I hope he does move from there. I know how south of the Mason-Dixon line, as we call it, in that southern area, how religious they can be and how damning it is for them. So, it's an interesting thing to watch. In this country, in the United States, for those of you that may not live in it, the separation of church and state is a big issue. Christians want to say equal time, and I've told them time and time again, if I got to give time for you to be on campus to do whatever you're going to do, I give time to the Muslim, the Buddhist, the Wiccan. I've got a long list of people I used to name when people said that sort of thing. And I just want to remind people that in this country, this was about making sure that the religion didn't have an undue effect on government, but also that government didn't really have a coercive effect on religion. So, and by so doing, they protect each of themselves from each other, but also they never get in cahoots with each other, and that's the way it's supposed to be. When I see public officials basically violating this, I don't think they always realize the harm that they're doing to their own faith. I think Freebird here makes an excellent point in the sense that they don't realize the harm that they're doing, but also that, it's very harmful and it doesn't do itself any favors. And that's exactly what happened here. So I'll keep monitoring the situation. Hopefully nothing major happens and hopefully things blow over soon enough. But I do hope that FFRF throws the book at these people. I hope they sue. I hope they take them to court. This should not have happened. And the superintendent and the principal of the building should be ashamed of the work that they've done, because they should have shut down this years ago, because it's illegal. It is illegal to do what she's doing. And the fact that she got probably a slap on the wrist and, a reprimand doesn't mean anything to a lot of us, especially to Telltale, who's being harassed and threatened with bodily harm and threatened with, we're going to come for you kind of stuff. Yeah, that's kind of garbage. It's that kind of garbage that turns away a lot of people from the faith. Whether that's right or wrong, yeah, whatever. From my perspective, whatever turns people away from the faith is good, because I am a compassionate anti-theist, sometimes heavy on the anti-theist. Well, that's it for today. I appreciate everybody coming by. I appreciate, once again, thank you for the over 100 subscribers milestone. That'll probably initiate some different things around here. I'm hoping that we reach 250 a lot faster than we reach this milestone. But we'll see. It all depends on how people want to react to it. So thank you once again. Appreciate your time, and hopefully I can convince you to be a rabid atheist like myself. In the meantime, this is Rabyd, also known as the Rabid Atheist, signing off and wishing you a good day.